You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at TheSlowRidePod. Enjoy the ride.
Hello and welcome to the 64th episode of the Slow Ride Podcast. That silence you hear, that's the little guy on the apple orchard, picking apples and tasting them and deciding which one would make the best cider.
Mm-hmm.
How was that for an intro without the little guy?
It was okay. I mean, I kind of miss him.
Okay. Yeah, I do miss him. But thanks for listening to the Slow Ride Podcast. We apologize for any type of technical difficulty, lack of other hosts. It has been the busiest week of the summer. Birthday week. Mm-hmm. I am now a cyclocross masters age level. We also had some travel, and it's just been kind of a crazy time, which goes against the busiest week of bike racing all year. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it. Tour de France. Yep. This is Tim Hayes in Orlando, Florida, and I am joined by Spencer Howe up in Boston. How you doing, Spencer?
I'm pretty good. I'm recovering from a tough weekend of mountain bike racing, which is, I guess, this new thing that the kids are into. I'm going to try it again next weekend, too. So if you want to hear more about that, I'm happy to tell you about it. It was gnarly.
What? So you did the Gnar Weasels, correct? And it was in Rhode Island, my home state. And I did see a really cool video from Big Bikes Tom over on dirtwire.tv, and It looked pretty badass.
It was pretty badass. The video does it justice, but it was definitely even gnarlier than it looks.
And just to be clear, Big Bikes Tom was the only promoter and the only one that did all the work, right?
Yeah.
Didn't really have any help, right?
You know, we could probably give him tons of advice about how to even improve the event for next time. But that's not something we do here, so we'll save it.
Yeah, I'm sure someone will write a blog post trying to take credit for promoting the race. But, of course, we're joking because our friend of the podcast, Colin Reuter, Results Boy, proprietor of mountainbikeresults.com, was the one behind it, and with Big Bikes Tom, and it seemed like it went off really well. And some of the technical features, the gap jump, looked pretty sick. Yeah,
it was way, way past my skill level, and I'm impressed that people were hitting it during the race, and some of the stuff these so-called quote-unquote mountain bikers can do. Because as a roadie, everybody knows I'm at the peak, the pinnacle of cycling, and but to be impressed, it's pretty tricky. So kudos to them.
It seemed that I didn't see any podiums with 5 people on it, so that was really great to see. Yep. I did see one podium bike, so I will let him slide on that. Hopefully in the future it goes away. So anyway, there's that. Next weekend you have another big UCI mountain bike race. I'm paying attention to that one because that's the Boston Rebellion, because local Florida superstar and Masters cyclocross national champion Ryan Woodall will be up there racing.
Oh, cool.
So make sure everybody up there cheers for him. And other than that, I say we just get down into the Tour de France. And since the little guy's not here, we're not going to get into the Velo Games teams, because I know you guys are waiting to dissect my amazing selections, and also go over some of the fine team names. And so we're going to talk about that, kind of a revisionist story, on the next podcast, where we'll look to see where we made errors.
Yep.
But going into the Tour, there's a lot. Everyone can read the news. But today, stage 6, very tragic day. Tony Martin breaks his collarbone. He's out of the jersey.
He pulled a pretty Cat 5 move, if you ask me.
That's something we learned on the track, is that when you're always lean opposite the way you want to lean, like, if you're on the left side of the guy's wheel, lean to the left. And just tragic, because it's a second yellow jersey to lose the jersey on the bike.
Yeah, to be knocked out of the race while in the jersey, to have that happen twice is pretty impressive. We were pointed out the stat earlier today on Twitter that Tony Martin becomes the 16th person to exit the tour in the yellow jersey. So, hey, a little light at the end of that tunnel maybe for him.
Yeah, and I think Tony Martin, as he's going into contract negotiations or whatever, he can talk about this. Like, hey, guys, I had the yellow jersey, but I was the 16th in history, so I need a price bump, pay bump. And, it's been kind of a weird tour for E-Tix, Quick Step. Tony Martin actually could have gotten into the yellow jersey a day earlier if Cavendish would have just pedaled 2 more feet. Because that was when Cancellara took 3rd place with a time bonus to then take the jersey. So he fought really hard for it. And then the most bittersweet of the day being Zednik Stuybar of the same team taking the win. So, of course, we're excited about that. And, it's just kind of a sullen moment because they lost Tony Martin. But Tony wasn't going to win the race anyway. So, I do have a theory here, though, Spencer.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, well, and I know our listeners will too. So if he's the second guy with the yellow jersey to beat the crash, Nairo Quintana is actually in the best place position here because I want to say of all the contenders, he's probably like in 10th, 11th place. So if this, like after TJ Van Garderen and some of these other guys, that if all these other guys get their chance in the yellow jersey and they're crashing out and, falling off the side of a mountain and all that, Nairo is going to be the one in the yellow jersey come Paris, and that's what I picked. That's what I banked on.
So you've got a last man standing theory.
Yeah, and if there's anything I've learned about Nairo Quintana is that he's tough. He's maybe not the guy you want in a bar fight, but he's the guy that's going to be able to get out of the bar fight alive because he would just crawl through the crowd and find his way out the door.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, anyway, what do you have? What was the most standout moment for you in this first week of the tour?
Man, there were so many standout moments. The tour's always crazy, but I thought for sure we were going to see some major fireworks on the cobble stage, and there definitely were some moments, but in the end, everybody came through pretty much unscathed. So, that was a big moment, really, that nobody went down.
Yeah.
And it's good to see because you don't want to see the tour decided on something like that. But it's also really good to know that all those dudes can handle that kind of racing.
There was a distinct lack of complaining about the cobbles from one certain individual who now finds himself in second overall, and So good on him for doing well on the cobbles and not losing his tour because of it. And Nairo was able to continue on, and some of these other riders. So, again, it was pretty cool to see Nibali trying his best to break it up on some of the cobble sectors.
Last year he was able to just ride away. And this year, not the same story. So,
and, I think that's a pretty good one with the cobbles. My favorite takeaway of it all is just going to be the variety of the stages. Is that Greipel has won 2 sprint stages, but they've been pretty exciting sprint stages. Today wasn't really a sprint stage, it was more of a puncher's route. And Stuybar won. Certainly the crash had something to do with that because of the climb, and almost every contender was taken out, including, Froome and Nibali and Nairo in addition to Tony Martin. But it's just, today's stage was pretty awesome, and it's been a tradition of that, and it's actually been a lot of fun to watch, seeing bike racing that isn't predetermined every day.
Yeah, exactly. Like, the tour's definitely made a lot of steps to shake that up over the last few years, and it's not the same old watching Alejandro Pataki's lead-out train, for 20K, barreling every breakaway down, and then him sprinting to the victory right at the end there. And so, it's new. It's the new normal, and I kind of like it.
Sorry, I had to hit my inhaler there. You reminded me when you said Pataki, and okay, I can breathe much better now. So, I have a TUE. Oh, okay. Just one more. I've got a TUE, so I'm totally good. All right. So yeah, I thought, what's a low point of the tour for you?
Well, the low point definitely has to be some of the crashes, and you never want to see, especially that massive pileup that took out Cancellara. That did not look pretty.
Yeah.
Those guys were moving at that particular moment in time, and same with the Martin crash. Like this one was just like just kind of a bummer move. Like it wasn't,
Your low point there is very similar to mine, and the reason I'm going to totally interrupt you is not that that's my style, but because the crashing, and now that they have the onboard cameras, the sports networks have been running the onboard cameras of just the crashes, and that is a little frustrating because it's crash porn, right? And it's sad that they're not concentrating on like the cool aspect. And so that's kind of a low point to me. But then at the same time, one of the high points is the technology we're getting out of it with these cameras.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know if you saw the Eureka Green Edge YouTube channel, which is a must subscribe for anybody, is they have a video with their mechanic is wearing a GoPro on one of those chest strap things. And so you see him working the carnage of the, of that crash, Michael Matthews, and making sure bikes running back and forth between the cars, and that is probably one of the coolest things I've seen from this year's tour.
Yeah, there's been a ton of that. A few teams are doing it. Tinkoff and Katusha have all been releasing videos, and that stuff is super exciting. You're right. It's definitely focused on the crashes, and that's kind of what they're playing in the broadcasts and stuff. But yeah, it's kind of a bummer that's what is making it out there in the world, but at the same time, that's what's going to draw people in. And
that was one hell of a crash. Holy crap.
Hopefully make them into better fans later after we can suck them in. Maybe they'll see that cycling's all right.
Yeah, and it's it was kind of crazy. And then second, another highlight for me is today's King of the Mountain winner. From MTN Quebeca, Daniel Tekle Haimanot.
Nailed it. Nailed it in one, Tim.
Of Eurasia, Eritrea? I want to make sure I'm saying it right.
We'll have to get in touch with our African correspondent, Dan from NAM, Dan Craven.
Dan from NAM or Taylor Jones is going to tell me a lot about Eurasian history. And I will say that it is pretty cool to see two riders from that country, former Italian colony, and that's where the history of cycling has influenced them. But they have their own big stage race, and it was pretty cool to see him take the polka dots today. So get to, and I love that MTN Quebeca team. Mm-hmm. They may be my fourth favorite team.
They're quickly becoming my very favorite team.
And the only reason they're fourth favorite is because of Tyler Farrar's on it, and it's I can't elevate them anymore.
That was a pretty sick burn.
I will say that, I have three teams I care about. They're definitely one of those three.
Okay, so it's
AG2R, Movistar, and MTN Quebeca.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I've always, and I think a lot of people feel like this, that you got to be a big fan of the underdog, and there is no bigger underdog. Well, let's say some of the small French teams are maybe bigger underdogs, but no realistic underdog better than MTN Quebeca. And what a good team to cheer for. It's like the Cool Runnings of cycling.
Yeah. Well, and let's be honest, they have the biggest underdog of them all, Tyler Farrar, in the sprint. Like everyone, he's just good enough that you're like, oh, maybe today's the day. And then you're like, what were you thinking?
On a good day, he's going to get his fourth place.
Tyler is my favorite American in the race this year. I want him to slay it. That team is making me excited. Like you can see, I am getting excited just thinking of this team because of how they're going after everything. So good for them. Hey, on a side note, I've been doing a lot of bike riding here in Orlando. A lot of early morning rides, like 6 a.m. rollouts.
Gross.
And there's been about 100 people on the rides, right? A couple big rides, and there's way too many Focus bikes.
Okay.
It's kind of like it was cool in Gainesville because everyone at Swift Cycle everyone that had a Focus bike in Swift in Gainesville got them from Swift Cycle.
Yeah,
and it's nice.
You got yours, and you were a cool guy.
And then I come down here.
Now you're just in with the mix. You're in with the scrum. Is that what you're saying?
But there's a good 20 Focus bikes on the ride today out of 100.
Okay.
Like, it's a good 20%, like 15, 20%. Enough that I can't imagine that there's that many Focus bikes being sold at full retail in Orlando.
Okay.
So now it's like, and they're all on the same team, right? So it's like a team deal. So they all got like a good deal. We wear the jersey, have a Focus bike. Nice guys. No problem whatsoever with this team. And they're really fast and good.
Okay.
But then I show up with a Focus, but I'm not on the team, so I get a bunch of weird looks, and then it's like, oh, who's the guy on the Focus? And I feel like everyone thinks that I was on their team at one time and maybe kicked off, or that I'm like a team groupie because I have the same butt.
Now, both of those scenarios are believable, you know? Like, I could see
I know.
either one of those things being very true.
That I could get kicked off or be a groupie of a
Right.
team?
My best advice for you, Tim, right off the bat, is, trade that bike in. You just had a birthday. You're in for titanium now. You should just go straight for it.
Well,
you're in the master's age. You know,
so about that,
ride.
and this is, so I have been working on Sarah about this. I've said, hey, Sarah, I'm 35, and I don't know if you listen to the Slow Ride podcast, but one of the rules is when you turn 35, you need to seriously consider a titanium bike. Swift Cycle's a Moots dealer. I can go get a nice Moots. I'm excited about it. But then she had the audacity to point out to me that I actually only turned 34. And then I had to tell her, yeah, but my cyclocross racing age is 35. So really I'm 35.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's time for a Moots. If anyone wants a nice Focus that's been taken care of professionally, it's cleaned all the time, looks great. You can just give me a quick... Barely ridden until about 3 weeks ago because the out-of-town form is on fire right now.
Okay.
Let me know so I can start my titanium quest.
Yeah, great. I'm glad this has turned into an advertising platform for you. They can email the slowridepodcast@gmail.com with all hate mail regarding this impromptu advertisement.
This is Ryan. This is Ryan. This is Ryan Woodall, Florida's first cyclocross national champion. You're listening to the Slow Ride Podcast.
All right, let's get back to the tour. So, when are we going to finally hit the mountains? Is that on next Tuesday?
Yeah, so we're sweeping around the top part of France here, and we're gonna head down to the Pyrenees next, and that's where the exciting mountains are, in my opinion. This steep, gnarly, gross mountains you don't want to have to ride up. Those are the good ones.
Yeah, and then we do, of course, end
land.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Well, I think with my theory, Quintana's going to take the jersey on the last day at the Alpe d'Huez, the second to last day, the last day that matters. So, well, cool stuff all the way around on the tour. Have you been surprised by anything? Like, I was completely surprised by the ability of Chris Froome to drop Quintana the way he did up the mirror. When he rode with Rodriguez. And then, it was just one of those ones that you're looking at, and like Quintana dropped 12 seconds to Froome right there. It was easy. And you're just like, oh, man.
I've actually been surprised by a lot of things. Too many to go into really, but like the prologue surprised me. Like I thought for sure it was going to be Tony Martin or Cancellara, and I did not see Dennis coming out of that with the victory, and so that was surprising. The yellow jersey changing hands so often has been surprising. The crashing has been surprising.
Has it really though? See, the crashing hasn't been surprising to me. It's been surprising
crashes, but
it's been surprising where it's happening.
Yeah,
it's in the front of
them too,
and it's up front. Like it's not, it's not like in the middle of the pack. Like we're talking like guys at the 10th, 12th wheel.
I think the most amazing thing that I've actually seen, and this is a very small part of the tour overall so far, but the most amazing thing I've seen. Stage 5 finish was a sprint that Greipel won. It was yesterday, but nobody cares now they're listening to this a few days later. Stage 5, Greipel won it, but Sagan came from like 20 wheels back at about Mach 5, definitely twice as fast as Greipel was going. And if that line had been 5 meters further up, he would have smoked everyone. And that dude has been hitting second place like 100 times so far this tour in six stages, which is amazing. But he's recently.
Someone pointed out that he's got 14 second place finishes in his career.
It's insane, but he's re-solidifying my theory that he is, the greatest cyclist we have going right now. He proved it with the climbing, amazing climbing at the Tour of California. He can sprint with the best in the world. He can do one-day races. He can go off the front and be in breakaways. He is the current day Eddie Merckx, no matter what you want to think about him being a young guy and kind of a firecracker. It
would be fun to see. It would be fun to see him go all out for the white jersey, to see like how long he can last to keep it. Mm-hmm. But that's not going to happen because he has to help Contador at some point. Like at some point, it's all systems go for Contador, and Sagan is just going to have to be in his own world, and that's.
And he's been being a great teammate too. Like on top of finishing second every day, he's been up there. He's been pulling Contador up to the front during the cobble sections and watching after him. I've been really impressed with him. Like I think he's matured a lot as a bike racer, and he's always had the talent, and now he's putting in that much work for the team and still being up there at the finish. It's impressive. So,
well, cool. And then the final thing I did want to talk about. I really hate the Tour de France transfer season. I think it's disgusting that during the Tour de France. These riders are then negotiating contracts with other teams. I think the UCI needs to put some kind of moratorium on negotiations and find a way to do that. Like if agents are caught talking to team owners or something, because I question the sportsmanship of it, the legitimacy of some of it, because cycling isn't exactly the best reputation for fairness.
Is Richie Porte really riding for Froome, or is he riding for TJ right now? Like, who knows?
And it's really frustrating to me how they're going about this, and I wish that in soccer it's like there's a transfer season, and that's the only time you can talk. In cycling, it's like who has money, what teams are going away. Like so, Europe car is going away, and it's like where's the tongue gonna go? And it's just tough.
We get the same problem with cyclocross too. Like the way they negotiate the contracts, everybody changes bikes and jerseys right before the World Championships. Like they change on January 1st and World Championships a month later. After doing a full season with a different team, it's kind of strange. Like they need to look at that seriously and do a transfer season in March, or in February, right after Cross Worlds, but before, the Paris-Nices of the world start, and get the Tour Down Under off the calendar and crap. Like we don't need bike racing in January. Stupid.
That might be platform number 5 of the Slow Ride podcast is just get rid of the Tour Down Under.
It's never going to be the 7th monument of cycling, so get rid of it.
All right. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for listening. It was an abbreviated episode. We're going to have Little Guy back soon. Mm-hmm. Special guest Coach Tim may be joining us as well. Mm-hmm. And we'd like to thank everybody for listening to us and making fun of us and, just being involved, because that's what makes this happen. Obviously, we don't have any cash sponsors. This is just this is for fun.
You know what I want to do is give a special shout out to everybody in our Velo Games League. We had over 100 people sign up for that, which is pretty rad. So thanks, guys. Thanks for playing along. And
Hey, this just in from the satellite newsroom. Little Guy just sent us a note here that we got a new review on the iTunes. All the Greenway news you crave with none of the BS. A 5-star review from Franco Bones. It's kind of like sitting next to the cool table in the break room or coffee shop and overhearing awesome, unscripted conversations about all things cycling. You have no control over the flow of conversation, but you're totally okay with that because your earballs are enjoying it so much. What?
Ooh.
I mean, thanks. And next time you see us at the coffee shop, pull up a chair. Because we'll totally listen to it, and then we'll critique your opinion on the next episode of the Slow Ride podcast.
Well, we won't even tell you your helmet's on backwards.
Hey, thank you for listening. Thanks for everybody for tuning in. You're what makes this fun for us, and we appreciate it. Thanks go out to BK1 of Rhymesayers Entertainment for his track Tema Du Cannibal off the album Radio Du Cannibal. It's our theme song. And also, thanks for tweeting to us at the Slow Ride Pod or emailing us at the slowridepodcast@gmail.com. And thanks for subscribing on iTunes. Leave us that review like Franco Bones, and that helps us out. And
That helps us get noticed by important cycling news publications like the Inner Ring, who left us off their podcast rankings.
They did. Only the second year in a row. So I figure by year 16, maybe we'll be on there. And remember, always wave at those other spandex clown suit wearing nerds that we pass on the road. They're like us. Wave.
It's a brotherhood.
Yeah, wave. Give the head nod.
Give a wave.
And for us, we'll catch you again next week.
Don't be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy. We'll catch you again next week.
The Slow Ride Podcast. Bikes, advice, and rumors straight from the source. TheSlowRidePodcast.com and on Twitter at The Slow Ride Pod.